Update. Am I the a-hole for no longer bringing dinner for my wife after she claimed I never cook? Original post. I work at a nice restaurant as a cook, and every day when I get off from work, I always cook dinner for my wife and our 2 kids, 8 male and 6 female, at a restaurant before coming home. The only time I don't cook for them are on weekends when I'm off, and that's when my wife does the cooking. We usually trade off who makes breakfast and lunch for the kids every other day, but for the week I'm always the one bringing home dinner. Weekends, we sometimes get together with friends and they come over to the house. My wife usually cooks, and I help set the table/clean afterwards. One of her friends, Stacy, asked how come I never do any of the cooking, and it is always on my wife all the time making meals for the kids, especially when I'm a cook myself. Instead of correcting her, my wife sort of laughed and went along with it, making jokes about, you know how it is. And Stacy laughed because her ex-husband was the same way, and then sort of ripped on me in a joking way, how I better buck up before I became an ex too. My wife just said, well, let's see if he actually listens and starts cooking for once. Joking about all the time is spent in the kitchen at work but won't do the same at home. It really ticked me off. I'm not the husband that just doesn't do anything after I'm home from work. I cook food for her and the kids at work. And on top of that, I make separate dishes for each of them, what she wants and what the kids want. All that after standing on my feet all day. We talked about it once they left, because I don't appreciate being told I'm not doing something she knows for a fact I do. She didn't want to apologize for it because it was all just to be a funny joke. Even after telling her about how it hurt my feelings being put down like that, my wife said she felt like she has to go along with the joke so there wouldn't be any awkward vibes, whatever that means. But I said, fine. If she can't apologize for something that was mean just so she could laugh along with her friends, then I won't keep doing something she already claims I don't do. And for the past week, I've only brought home dinner for our kids, and she's had to make her own food. She's mad that I'm refusing to feed her over what happened, instead of letting it go. But I can't help but feel mad about being made fun of like that, when I'm busting my butt to provide for my family, and still making sure they have food on the table every evening. She just thinks I'm an a-hole for how I'm reacting, when she's already tired at the end of the day, but still having to make food for herself. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. Your wife missed a great opportunity to boast on you, all for acceptance by others who have nothing invested in your relationship. Not even to boast though would have felt nice, but at least say, hey, you're wrong, not just go along with it. As a stay-at-home mom who has a significant other who actually does things for himself and around the house, I've basically had this conversation before. All she had to say is, actually, I don't have that problem. He's a responsible adult and pulls his share. I don't get why she had to lie to keep it from being awkward. I'm sure it was awkward already. Not the a-hole. Your spouse is supposed to be your partner in everything in life. The person who always has your back like you always have theirs. She threw you directly under the bus for the sake of not creating waves with her friend. Then when you told her you didn't find her comments at all funny and quite hurtful that she let someone else believe you're a deadbeat, she blew you off. So, she can make her own dinner until she sincerely apologizes and acknowledges that your contribution to the family of cooking dinner during the week is important. I feel like it was an excuse to worry about making waves. I don't understand why actually cooks during the week would create an awkward moment. If anything, it's the opposite. If I was the friend complaining about my horrible ex-husband who never helped, and my friend lied to me about how she can relate because her husband doesn't contribute, I would be pretty angry to find out she actually has an amazing husband who always helps her out. Like, I would be a bit hurt that she decided to lie and act like she's dealing with the same crap I am, when in reality, her husband is doing a lot of work to help her out. Now for the update. At first, wasn't going to post an update, but since things have gotten better, why not? I didn't show my wife this post like some suggested until a few days later, but before that, she wanted to talk before bed. And she apologized for how she's been behaving with me, when she made those jokes and let her friends say things about me, then how she was acting afterwards. In reality, she knew she did wrong, but when I called her out, it made her defensive, and she realizes how she was acting like a child after knowing how much I do for our family. That's when I showed her the post and opened up about something that was mentioned by me in my comments. How it really hit a nerve for me, making it seem like I'm a lousy father/husband when my dad was exactly that as he abandoned me and my mom. She knows how important it is for me to be as involved as possible when our kids were born because I never wanted to be like him. So her making it seem like that's how I am brought up some feelings. Telling her this really made her feel like she messed up big time. She wouldn't stop apologizing. She promised she'd never put me down that way. And honestly, I think she's shown that she meant her apology. For a week, she wanted to be the one making dinner for everyone, so I'd have some time to relax after work. It was nice, but also missed making meals for my family. Cooking for my kids is my own way of expressing my love for them, so we're back to that as well. I feel like my wife has more than shown how sorry she is, and appreciates what I also do for this family. Last time we had lunch with her friend a few days ago on my day off, she even brought it up. As mad as I was when it happened, it's nice to see she's made an effort to make amends. The support I got from here was very sweet. I appreciate feeling heard when it felt like my wife wasn't at a time. I'm really glad things work out for you regarding this. Cooking is definitely my way of showing love to those I care about as well. Keep being a great father, and continue what you do regarding your cooking. Thank you. My family always loved my cooking, so knowing they enjoy something I made on top of keeping them fed is always a nice reward for me. Glad to see another wonderful example of communication and empathy solving the base issue. It's great that your wife was able to understand the underlying reasons behind why her comments were so hurtful to you, since that will help her consider her words before responding in future instances. I think she did a very normal human thing, which is to try to sympathize with the person who's hurting around you by agreeing with her general complaints. It's understandable because you don't want to sound like you're gloating at a person in that situation, but it can also cast a negative shadow on the sad person's recovery. If your wife has trouble with that kind of thing, you could recommend to her that she paint her comments about you as proof that good men do exist out there, if her friends take the time to look for them. It makes you feel good, it makes your wife feel good, and it gives a sad friend hope for a future relationship, as compared to despairing that no man/woman will ever truly love me. I think this is a communication issue. The issue was resolved because the person in the wrong admitted they were wrong and genuinely apologized and made it up to the person they wronged. Oftentimes, things don't get resolved no matter how the two parties communicate, because the one in the wrong doesn't want to admit they were wrong. Did she set the record straight with Stacy? Yes, she did. Good, because apologies behind closed doors are okay. But if her friends continue to make fun of you because she didn't set them straight, that's tough. Next story. Am I the a-hole for calling my son inconsiderate? I, 46 female, have twins 19 males and another son 16 male. My youngest son loves to cook and bake. To him, it's a source of relaxation. Alfredo, burgers, pizza, you name it. Heck, even a whole cake he can make it. Everyone who's met him knows he's a fantastic cook. However, he prefers to only cook for himself and gets really annoyed when my twins walk in on him cooking and ask him to make them food as well. He'll end up doing it, but he does it very begrudgingly and usually gives them a much smaller portion than his own serving, which my twins don't like. They both have jobs and will sometimes use their job money to buy us all a little fast food, so they find it really upsetting how their younger brother never returns the favor by primarily cooking for himself. The other day, neither of my twins had class and weren't really in the mood for the food that we had in the house. My son came back from school and decided to make himself some banana pudding. When my twins asked for some as well, he told them they could just make it themselves and that the ingredients were all still there. My son put the banana pudding in the fridge and went to go take a shower while it was chilling. When he came back down, he saw that my twins had eaten it all, and this really upset him. When he told me about the situation, I confronted the twins, to which they said it was really rude for him to only make something for himself knowing that they were hungry as well. And like he said, he could always make some more. So I told my son that while they shouldn't have eaten his food, they were right, and he was very inconsiderate. My son replied that it's not fair how he gets back from school and is expected to make food for his older siblings, that they can just get a cookbook and learn how to make things for themselves. I told my son that if he's not going to cook for everybody, then he can't cook anymore. He's been pretty moody ever since. Obviously, his brothers shouldn't have eaten his food, but it takes no effort to just make a larger portion of the food he's cooking so that everybody can have it. My husband thinks I'm in the right, but I'm really not happy with how things are right now between my children. So, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. I told my son that if he's not going to cook for everybody, then he can't cook anymore. You're the a-hole. You are not entitled to have your 16-year-old cook for the whole family every time he wants to cook. If this is a hobby that he enjoys, good for him. You and your other children are not an automatic beneficiary. And your twins eat all of his pudding? Major a-hole move. Did you make them make another batch to replace the one they ate? Or did you just let it slide and go on to punish 16-year-old? Give your head a shake. If you want him to cook for you, then maybe you should assign a night of the week that each of your kids be responsible to feed a family, whether it be cooking or bringing home food. Then it's fair. Yeah, or you could make them pay money if he cooks for them. I mean, if it was done in a fair and structured way like once a week, having him cook for everyone wouldn't be an unreasonable chore, given that they'll sometimes buy food and is using a provided kitchen and ingredients. But making it spontaneous and all-consuming, like make them something every time, it looks like she's just playing favorites. You're the a-hole. Why should your twins endlessly benefit from your 16-year-old's work? I hope he gets himself into a professional kitchen and thrives. He's not their servant. Are they doing his laundry? His other chores? Do they clean up the kitchen afterwards? That would be more equitable. What are they doing in return? Do you seriously think them buying something fast food is the same as all the work involved in making a meal? If he finds cooking and baking relaxing, he shouldn't do it professionally unless he really, really wants to. That's a good way to ruin a hobby. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my parents I don't want kids because I'm scared they will turn out like my brother? My older brother is unemployed, had almost always been unemployed, and has no intention to ever work. His life plan is to live off of our mother until she dies. Then our father, if he happens to live longer, then live off his inheritance. Or maybe he will try to mooch off of another relative. I don't know. Our parents have tried to get him to work. They did everything in their power to arrange him job positions where he didn't even have to interview. But no, he always comes up with an excuse to why that job is not good enough for him. He is my brother, so I love him of course, but at the same time, I'm ashamed of him and with how his actions hurt our parents. I turned 30 this week, and we celebrated it with my family yesterday. My mom said she was 30 when she had me and asked me when my husband and I will have kids. I told her I'm not sure if I'm up to the job. Raising children seems too difficult to me. She asked what I meant, and I told her that I don't think I would be able to properly parent a child, correct their behaviors, and deal with them possibly not living up to my expectations, which is not fair to the child either. She pressed further and my father joined in, acting like they don't understand what I mean, up until I told them that I'm afraid my child would turn out like my brother, for example, and I don't think I could deal with that. They got quiet for a second, and I saw that they finally understood what I meant. The problem was that, even though my brother was having a different conversation with one of our cousins, he heard what I said, looked at me, said nice, and walked out. Our parents said that I shouldn't have said what I said, even though they admit they pressured me to explain and understand my concerns, because it's already really hard to get my brother to come to family events, and now I made it even worse, and they want me to apologize to him. I didn't mean for him to hear that, and I feel bad. But seriously, he is a 34-year-old man refusing to get a job. I think it's time we stop cuddling him. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your brother is a non-functional mooch, unless there is something else going on. Your parents pressed the issue. By the way, they're enablers. It's ridiculous. My brother-in-law was also an unemployed mooch living with mommy from age 35 to 50. I told my husband that the brother-in-law is perfectly capable. Brother-in-law then met a gal who kicked his butt into shape, and he got a job and got married. The enabling is a real problem. Opie's parents did fail her brother, but the brother is at fault as well. It's a phenomenon called failure to launch, and Opie's parents are definitely enabling it by not pushing him out of the nest, so to speak. Not the a-hole. Pure and simple. Your life, your choice. Raising kids is a lot of work. I have 4, trust me. Worst thing for a child is having a parent that's not ready to commit the parent's life to raising a child. Now, if you want a child but simply are afraid of XYZ, let me comfort you. Every child is different. Your parents are enabling your brother, but that doesn't have to be you and your child. It's quite possible you won't have the same challenges with your child your parents have with your brother. Make no mistakes. There will be challenges. 99% chance they'll have their own unique twist and making your life interesting however. I can concur. All 3 of the kids my parents raised turned out to be screwed up in completely different ways that are combated with completely different strategies. 2 out of 3 of us, despite facing a ton of challenges and having a lot wrong with us well into adulthood, have also found our own versions of success. One of us is a pseudo-Nazi who wriggled out of an arson charge. But part of parenting is accepting that your kid might turn out to be a bad person for reasons beyond your control. Not the a-hole. Is it the US? If so, there's a thing called eviction. Unless he's able to pay for his own food and place to live, he's not really doing anything useful. And I totally agree. Raising kids is a difficult thing to do. Same reason I don't have kids. I just don't want to take that burden. My brother made it clear in the past that if they kicked him out, he would just go to our maternal grandparents who would take care of him. Our parents didn't want to burden the grandparents, so they never attempted to stop providing for him. Then, our grandparents both died last year within a few months from each other. But now my parents believe he couldn't take care of himself and would just become homeless if they kicked him out. My dad especially said he couldn't live with that. He couldn't make his son homeless. I tried suggesting they tell him that they will cut him out of their will if he doesn't get a job. But my dad says that wouldn't work because my brother would call his bluff.